Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2024 Ford's Theater National Oratory Fellows, a celebration of oratory. Before we get going, today's performance is being recorded, so feel free to put your phones down and watch. Parents, you will have a recording for you. And we ask that you do not use any flash photography, and please make sure your phones are silenced or off at this time. Words have power. They have power to anger, to soothe, to embolden, to make us laugh. And through the National Oratory Fellowship's work with teachers, teaching artists, and students, they all discover how we can use our words and the words of other great orators to engage in a much needed civil discourse. But before we go any further, I must ask, are you all right? I'm seriously asking these phenomenal student delegates over here from across the country and our National Oratory Fellows, because it has been a whirlwind weekend. Plane, train, workshop, no sleep, another workshop, practice at Lincoln Memorial, no sleep, museum, rehearsal. Y'all, it has been a lot. And it's because of Ford's Theater Society and the National Parks Department that we get to do this here, and we are deeply grateful to them. Additionally, our support systems are important to us, our families, our friends, our colleagues. It's because of them that we feel safe doing difficult things. They're our foundations, and I suspect that families and friends supporting today's orators have checked in to see if they are all right. And I feel confident that by the end of today's presentation, we will find out the kids are in fact all right, and so are we.
Everybody, my name is Melissa Medina, and I will be presenting an original speech with you all. Lights, lines, applause. The sound of laughter and cheers fills the air, and my heart begins to race with excitement. I slowly walk to the center of the stage, beginning to swirl around Marlin, another character in the show. Once I'm at my mark, I look around and see the room filled with little children watching the act as if it was real. At this very moment, I feel like I'm actually in the big blue world as Dory, the forgetful blue tapefish. The little kid's eyes are filled with a wonder and imagination. I look around the room, frozen in my ending position. This is the moment I know that I'm going to follow my passion. To be able to act, sing, and dance gives me an incredible sense of freedom. I feel like I can be myself. While playing the character of Dory in my school production of Finding Nemo, I feel so into my character that I become Dory. Her short-term memory loss is my memory loss. Her happiness is my happiness, and her optimistic attitude is mine. Ever since becoming Dory, I've even incorporated her motto, just keep swimming, into my life, even when I'm having less than a stellar day. Once in school, I spilled water on my favorite clothes, and I was so embarrassed because all my friends were going to notice. Right away, I knew something was just off. I felt like they wanted to laugh. Right when I was about to sit somewhere else, I realized, what am I thinking? I may mess up, I may fall, I may fail, but just like Dory would say, I need to just keep swimming. Let's put it this way, every time I head out on that stage with my theater family, I know that no matter what happens, I'll be able to just keep swimming. Each time I'm on stage, I feel proud of the hard work I've accomplished, and that's a memory I know I'll never forget. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bradley Bartnick, and I will be presenting Eulogy on the Dog by George Graham Best. Gentlemen of the jury, the best friend that a man has in this world may turn against him and become his enemy. His son or daughter that is reared with loving care may prove ungrateful. Those who are nearest and dearest to us, those whom we trust with our happiness and our good name, may become traitors to their faith. The money that a man has, he may lose. It flies away from him, perhaps when he needs it most. A man's reputation may be sacrificed in a moment of ill-considered action. The people are prone to fall on their knees, to do us honor when success is with us, may be the first to fall when failure settles a dark cloud upon our heads. The one absolutely unselfish friend that a man can have in this selfish world, the one that never deserts him, the one that never proves ungrateful or treacherous, is his dog. A man's dog stands by him in prosperity and in poverty, in health and in sickness. He will sleep on the cold ground where the wintry winds blow and the snow dries fiercely, if only he may be near his master's side. He will kiss the hand that has no food to offer. He will lick the wounds and sores that come into contact with the roughness of the world. When all other friends desert, he remains. When riches take wings and reputation falls to pieces, he's as constant in his love as in the sun in its journey through the heavens. If fortune were to drive the master forth an outcast in the world, friendless and homeless, the dog has no higher privilege than that of accompanying him, to guard him against danger, to protect him against his enemies. And when the last scene of all comes, and death takes the master in its embrace, and his body is laid away in the cold ground, no matter if all the friends pursue their way, there, by the graveside, will the noble dog be found, his head between his paws, his eyes sad but open in alertful watchfulness, faithful and true, even in death. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Asher Kieschnick, and this is What to the Slave is the 4th of July by Frederick Douglass. Fellow citizens, above your national, tumultuous joy, I hear the mournful wail of millions, whose chains, heavy and grievous yesterday, are today rendered more intolerable by the jubilee shouts that reach them. If I do forget, if I do not faithfully remember those bleeding children of sorrow on this day, may my right hand forget her cunning, and may my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. To forget them, to pass lightly over their wrongs, and to chime in with the popular theme would be treason, most scandalous and shocking, and would make me a reproach before God and the world. My subject, then, fellow citizens, is American slavery. I shall see this day and its popular characteristics from the slave's point of view. Standing with God and the crushed and bleeding slave on this occasion, I will, in the name of humanity which is outraged, in the name of liberty which is fettered, in the name of the Constitution and the Bible which are disregarded and trampled upon, dare to call in question and to denounce with all the emphasis I can command everything that serves to perpetuate slavery, the great sin and shame of America. I will not equivocate, I will not excuse. I will use the severest language I can command, and yet not one word shall escape me that any man whose judgment is not blinded by prejudice, or who is not at heart a slaveholder, shall not confess to be right and just. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Azzy Eckhart, and I will be performing an original speech titled AI. AI is turning out to be something else. Artificial intelligence, in its broadest sense, is intelligence exhibited by machines, particularly computer systems as opposed to the natural intelligence of living beings. Most people fear AI, saying, it's teeny, or it's stealing human creativity. But I think it's going to be a huge part of human innovation. It is going to improve industries such as healthcare, manufacturing, and customer service, leading to a higher quality experience for both workers and customers. Most people think it replaces the workers, when half the time this isn't the case. It's helping the people who are working. In summary, AI aims to provide software that can reason on input and explain on output, not to have cognitive thought or its own conscience. AI cannot do anything unless it is given a prompt. For now, at least. We just have to control it in its earlier stages. Unlike humans, though, AI cannot get exhausted nor stressed, reducing the error ratio in task performance. In a nutshell, human intelligence uses our brain, memory, and cognitive abilities, while AI relies on the data provided by the human. This can help workers get done with work way faster and more efficiently. In AI's current state, it cannot do that very accurately. However, in the future, that could possibly improve. Using AI in work areas or other places could increase efficiency and productivity between 20% and 50%. The argument has been made, though, that AI does indeed have some problems. This being copyright issues and malicious use. Some AI art bots have used copyrighted art or copyrighted art styles in their own images. I have stated before, AI relies on the data provided by the user, aka you. It necessarily wouldn't be the AI's fault for using your art, it would be the user. I mentioned the malicious use of AI, such as fake photos, step-by-step guides on how to do things, and even using it to cheat on your own schoolwork, which I'm not a fan of at all. But most of the time, this is not the AI's fault. It is the user, you, the person behind the screen. And OpenAI and other companies know this. They take copyright laws very seriously and are implementing copyright restrictions in their own chatbots. They are also trying to block the loopholes as well. Right now in this day and age, the future is AI. It isn't something to be afraid of, but something to embrace and gain more control over. Let's not screw it up, okay? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emma DeSori, and I'm a teacher in Sandwich, New Hampshire at Sandwich Central School. And I have an original speech called Paper Sculptures. I am sitting on the dark gray carpet in a circle with a group of 11 second and third graders, sharing the colorful construction paper sculptures we have made. My rules have been to use only the paper and our hands to make our sculptures. No scissors, no glue, no tape, just tearing and folding and balancing. Then we are to give the sculptures a title and, pretending we are artists in a museum, introduce ourselves and our sculptures to the group. It is early in the school year. I am sowing the seeds of oratory. One student, I'll call her Ginny, has withdrawn from the group, head down, a long curtain of hair hiding her face, shoulders slumped over, hands in her lap, her piece of purple paper untouched on the floor in front of her. Sitting next to Ginny, a student stands to introduce themselves and presents their sculpture, a roughly torn piece of orange paper they are calling grilled cheese. Laughter. And now it's Ginny's turn, but she remains frozen. I try to coax her, dip into my teacher toolbox. I say she can call her sculpture purple paper. Ginny's classmates are kind and encouraging, but none of this seems to matter. Ginny bursts into tears and runs from the circle, plunking herself down on the floor away from the group in the spot my students use when they need to take a break. Ginny folds into herself. She is immovable. Class ends, and the students file out for recess, but Ginny remains frozen in place, head down. I take a beat. I've known Ginny since kindergarten, and she is often like this. It can be frustrating, but it's also really clear in these moments that Ginny is frustrated too. Sometimes it isn't our voices, but our bodies that speak for us. And so I try listening to what Ginny is telling me, curled up in that ball. How can I help her? What does Ginny want? What does she need? I plunk down next to Ginny, and I tell her what I see, that she is frustrated. And I ask her how I can help her. She just shakes her head. And because Ginny is little and life is hard, and because I am listening now, I ask Ginny if she'd just like a hug. And brave Ginny takes what she needs. She throws her little frustrated self at me, wraps me in a big hug, and sobs for a while. When she finally looks up, I see what I've been looking for, trust. This time, I speak and Ginny listens. I remind her of how much all the teachers care about her at our school, and how any of us will give her a hug anytime, or whatever else it is she needs. I tell her that when she's frustrated, she can use her voice, and we will help her to figure it out. She nods in agreement and takes my hand for the walk back to lunch. Sometimes it feels like the kids are not okay. We see that they are struggling, and so, truthfully, at times, are we. It can be hard to slow down, to stop, and to listen. But with trust and patience, with communication and bravery and kindness, we will hear what each other has to say, and it will be okay. Thank you.
My name is Eleanor Pape, and today I will be presenting an original speech. I'm going to be talking about how to give students a better school experience and a better understanding of the materials they will learn. A big problem I see in classrooms is disruptions, calling out inappropriate behavior, and physically being disruptive. In elementary school, we had skill groups for math and reading. Students would be split up according to learning pace. Kids who took longer to learn something went to one classroom, kids who were learning pretty fluently went to another classroom, and kids who were excelling and needed a challenge went to the last classroom. The great thing about this was that nobody felt bad about it, because nobody knew which classrooms taught which skills. You could guess, but kids seemed to be at peace with these groups. I saw kids around me thrive. Learning was fun. Middle school is very different. Not only the atmosphere, but everyone in the class is expected to learn at the same pace. And that's not entirely fair for kids who don't do well with learning that way. When you're in a class with lots of students, the majority of them will master the skill and then move on. But for those who struggle, they might have to move on before they're ready. This causes discomfort, and I think this discomfort is where some of these disruptions are coming from. There are also other reasons why a kid might act out, but I have found that this is a major contributor. This is why I suggest bringing these skill groups to middle schools. I am from Oregon, and Oregon doesn't have the best academic performance compared to other states. I believe that if we give students an environment where they can thrive, it will boost our academic standards and make learning an enjoyable part of their day. Not only would this be good for the students, but would also be beneficial for teachers, who, in return, would have better test scores and a better classroom environment. Schools are here to help us be prepared for life. That's why they want us to have an education. But what good is that if we aren't actually learning? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Keegan Fitzpatrick, and my speech is Mental Health by Caitlin Lancaster. People say mental health is a myth, that it's just a label people use as an excuse, and honestly, That gets me so mad. Just because you haven't seen or experienced something doesn't make it imaginary. I, for one, have first-hand experience of breakdowns, of feeling hopeless, or just simply not wanting to exist. And the people I know, let alone strangers. Yeah, I might not have experienced it firsthand, but I've seen self-harm on my friends. I've seen brains breaking down in stress, people leaving existence to recuperate. So, I advise the people saying stuff about said stuff to do your research. You won't even have to do much. Just look around you. Look at the people. It's a fact that 1 in 4 people have mental health issues. So seriously, it won't be hard to see. So the next time you gotta make a joke about mental health or make fun of someone who is struggling, just think about it and maybe, just possibly, just don't. Thank you.
My name is Krista Westall, and I'm performing an original speech titled Behind the Mask. People say mental health is not an issue, and that, well, it's not a real thing. I do not believe those people realize that more than 1 in 5 adults struggle with mental health issues. Going off of that, 1 in 7 10 to 19-year-olds struggle with mental health issues. When an adolescent is traumatized by something in their life, they find ways to cope. These can be called risk factors because it is risky ideas and behaviors that adolescents eventually find comfort in doing. I was researching this topic on the World Health Organization, and this is what I found. The consequences of failing to address adolescents' mental health conditions extend to adulthood, impairing both physical and mental well-being. Behaviors such as substance abuse and sexual risk-taking start during adolescence. These behaviors affect health. When I was younger, I was always told to never judge someone before you know them, and never to assume what someone has been through. You might ask, why would judging people have anything to do with mental health? Let me explain. When you have struggled for years with breathing attacks due to too much noise, too many people, or too much schoolwork, feeling depressed, or even issues looking at yourself in a mirror, little things like words will hurt. You should never say that mental health isn't real and that people use it as an excuse. If you've never seen what these people who struggle every day have seen. Mental health is a real thing, and it takes lives every day. So think about what you say and what actions you take towards people before you do. You never know what is behind the mask. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Favorite Namdi, and I'm doing an original speech. Suicide, a defining health crisis of our time, continues to be a significant concern in societies worldwide. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 50,000 Americans died in the year 2023 alone. It is an alarming phenomenon that has a profound impact on families, friends, communities, and societies as a whole. The gravity of suicide cannot be underestimated, as it claims the lives of millions of people every year. Beyond the tragic loss of life, suicide leaves behind emotional scars that can last for generations. It tears apart families and friendships, leaving loved ones grappling with feelings of guilt, confusion, and overwhelming grief. Understanding the factors contributing to suicidal ideation is crucial in addressing this pressing concern. Mental health issues such as depression, anxiety disorders, substance abuse problems, or untreated trauma often play significant roles in suicidal thoughts. Identifying these underlying causes is essential to provide effective supports for those who suffer from them. If If you are able to play your part, try your best to persuade people with suicidal thoughts or individuals dealing with people who have suicidal thoughts on how horrible it would be to lose them and that they still have a purpose and a reason to be alive. Suicide is a topic that should be addressed at all times. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Daniel Parks, and I teach at Middlethorpe Elementary in Lexington, Kentucky, and I am presenting an original speech. Your life can change in an instant. I never really gave that much thought until I experienced one of those instants. One phone call from a stranger asking, "Is it true? Is Heather really dead?" completely changed my life and the life of those closest to me. In an instant, my four nephews lost their mother, my parents lost their daughter, and I lost my big sister. Heather, the person who knew my lived experience better than anyone, was gone, murdered by someone she loved. The sudden shift in perspective that came with this loss fundamentally changed me. What followed was a whirlwind of anger, mourning, and disbelief. Weeks of fighting for the right to bury my sister, months of half-hearted police investigations, and years of custody battles to keep my nephews in the only homes that they had ever known. I quickly realized that we had to learn new ways to survive. I had to learn that it's all right not to be all right. There are days when I'm just never going to make it to the level of being all right. Days when just functioning is going to be the best that it's going to get. I had to learn that when something unexpectedly changes your life, it's okay to mourn the future that you lost. The loss of those plans is just as real as any other. It's essential to give yourself time and space to acknowledge the loss and reimagine how your life is going to be. I also learned the profound importance of communication. It became the lifeline that kept my family grounded and moving forward. It allowed us to navigate this turbulent journey of grief together. Open and honest communication ultimately helped begin the process of healing. We discovered a resilience and strength that we never knew we had. I learned that experiencing this dichotomy between life and death, between joy and grief, between living life to its fullest and just being all right, is a common bond that brings us all together, if and only if we are willing to share that experience with others. It will not be easy, but it's essential to truly start healing. That day changed my family's lives forever, but we're still here. And I can say that the kids are all right, and so am I.
Hello, my name is Adriana Laub, and I'll be presenting an original speech. Imagine waking up every morning to the sound of your newborn baby's cries, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on your shoulders as you prepare to drop them off at daycare and head off to work, all without the support or encouragement of a partner by your side. Single moms are like superheroes without capes, juggling work, household responsibilities, and the monumental task of raising their children solo, tackling each day with an awe-inspiring display of resilience. Growing up, I was surrounded in the quiet strength of my mother, Jacqueline, and my grandmother, Christy. Their tireless efforts painted a vivid tapestry against the backdrop of adversity, haunting me with this staggering statistic. In the US alone, nearly 23% of children are raised by single moms. This figure is not merely a number. It represents the countless bedtime stories missed due to extra shifts taken, the relentless march against the currents of societal norms and economic hardships. This statistic, like an unyielding storm, cast a shadow over the lives of families across the nation, illuminating the shared journey of perseverance amidst the darkness. Furthermore, nearly a quarter of the families in the U.S. are considered food insecure, lacking access to sufficient and affordable food. Yet, it is not just about the emotional and logistical burdens. Single moms often find themselves grappling with financial strain as well. About 33% of single moms in the U.S. live below the poverty line, struggling to make ends meet on a daily basis. Compounding these challenges, accessing affordable childcare and opportunities for career advancement further exacerbate their financial instability. So, let's advocate for changes that can mitigate their burdens. By rallying behind single moms, we are fighting for fairness and equality for all families. We need to band together to ensure that single moms receive the assistance they need to not just survive, but thrive. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Saloni Verma, and my speech is Be Fearless by Priyanka Chopra. So my father used to always tell me something, which I want to share with you. Why do you want to fit inside a glass slipper? You know, like we were told, like Cinderella did? Why do you want to fit inside a glass slipper when you can shatter the glass ceiling? I want to tell you a little secret. I'm not very fond of the phrase breaking a glass ceiling. Why does it annoy me? Because it takes the context of everything that I've done, all my achievements, all my hard work, and puts it into a box, as if my ambition was that I want to find a glass ceiling and break it. Not at all. All I wanted was to chase my dreams, my ambitions. I wanted to evolve. I wanted to become the best version of me that I could be. And of course, in Priyanka Chopra's style, along the way, I wanted to smash and break every obstacle which came my way, which I did. But that does not mean that the glass ceiling doesn't exist. Of course it exists. And countless men and women, mostly women, run into it in their professional and personal lives. And I'm sure a lot of you can vouch for that right now. The Oxford Dictionary definition of the glass ceiling is an unacknowledged barrier to advancement in a profession, especially affecting women and members of minorities from rising beyond a certain level in the hierarchy. And this metaphor was first coined by feminists in reference to barriers of high-achieving women. So why did I choose it as my topic for today if I hated it so much? Because I hope, through my experiences, I can present to you the tools to live your dreams and to not make that glass ceiling that is defined by society, largely patriarchal, as your goal. I want you to aim higher because you know you can, and it is honestly all I did. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cora Cooling, and I am presenting an original speech. No, no, no. Women have been told no their whole lives. We were told, no, you can't vote. No, you are not capable enough to have that job. No, you are not smart enough to get a college degree. And even if you did, no. No one would take you seriously as the boss. No, you cannot join the military because you physically just can't keep up with men. And most recently, no, you can't even have rights to your own body. Since the 1800s, women have been fighting to be treated as equals. It started with women organizing to gain the right to vote by creating petitions, having marches, and participating in protests. Despite these efforts, it would be decades before Congress would ratify the amendment in 1920. Education for women has also been a long fight, starting in 1848. This is when a movement begun by women to allow them into higher educational institutes. Slowly over time, small colleges began to accept women into their programs. It would take another 120 years for the U.S. Department of Education to pass the education amendment known as Title IX in 1972. Title IX prevented discrimination on basis of sex for any educational program, allowing women to earn any kind of educational degree at any institute they wanted. Believe it or not, the U.S. military was actually slightly more proactive to its approach to women. Initially, it was an all-male organization that deemed women incompetent or not physically strong enough to join the military. But as early as 1917, they allowed Loretta Walsh to enlist in the U.S. Navy, paving the way for women. By 1948, President Harry S. Truman signed the Women's Armed Services Integration Act, allowing women to join, and in 1971, the U.S. military was made up of 1% of women. As of 2022, women now make up 18% of the armed forces. All of this progress has been made to demonstrate that women should be viewed as equals to males in the corporate world as well as in society. Overall, women have been making significant progress to becoming well-educated and rising up in the workforce. But we are still experiencing gender pay gap and double standards in every aspect of our lives. And worst of all, in 2022, the Dobbs decision was passed by the Supreme Court, which overturned the historic Roe v. Wade ruling of 1973. The overturning of that ruling sent women back years by taking away the choices a woman has on what to do with pregnancy. In fact, women had more rights in 1973 when Roe v. Wade was passed than we do now. Isn't that strange? So, what's the girl to do? It's time for us to keep saying yes, to keep pushing women's rights forward and fighting for everything we deserve, to say yes to the opportunities, yes to the education, and yes to making our own choices. We still have quite a ways to go, but I do believe with all of the opportunities women have now, we are getting in a position to make some real change so that our future generations won't be limited to their genders. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ayan Tahir, and this is the Stanford Commencement Address by Steve Jobs. My story is about death. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it were your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, what I want to do what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer's been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. This was the closest thing I've been to facing death, and I hope it's the closest I get for a few more decades. I can now say this to you with a bit more certainty. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is a destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it, and that is as it should be, because death is the very single best invention of life. It is life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you, but someday, not too long from now, you'll gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it's quite true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Tamara Huffman. I'm from Sioux Falls, and I represent the Harrisburg School District in South Dakota. In the demanding landscape of education today, where challenges seem to abound and the negative aspects often overshadow the positive, I stand before you, a seasoned teacher of 24 years, to shed light on a crucial truth. The kids are okay, and so are we. Teaching is undeniably difficult. We often wonder, are we making a difference? The demands on both teachers and students have multiplied, and the once noble pursuit of education has become entangled in politics, standardized testing, and pressures from administration and parents. The pressures on students to conform and excel academically can also be overwhelming. Just when we feel like we're reaching nobody, a touching moment unfolds. A moment where you realize that against all odds, you do make a difference. I want to share a personal story that captures the essence of these moments. In the midst of pursuing adoption, a former student of mine found herself facing an unexpected pregnancy. And little did I know that we were on parallel paths. In a twist of fate, I confided in a colleague about my adoption plans, not knowing that this same colleague was also a confidant for my former student. And recognizing the connection, my colleague brought us together. So my former student gave me the gift of motherhood by entrusting me with our daughter, Isabel. And our lives have become intertwined. Holidays, birthdays, vacations. Isabel was even the flower girl in her wedding. And today, the birth mother is still a vital presence in our daughter's life. So I have approximately 100 students a year, and faces come and go, and you never really know if you're making any sort of impact. But my daughter's birth mother told me that I made a tremendous difference in her life as her teacher. And when she had to make the most difficult decision in her life on who would be the mother to her daughter, she chose me. She told me that I was the only person she would be willing to give her daughter to raise. So yet, when you think you're not reaching anybody, a touching moment unfolds that changes your perspective entirely. My daughter now has an extended family, and I have Isabel because of a connection that I made with a student 2 decades ago. So as we navigate the challenges of education, let us not lose sight of these moments. There is a reason why we chose this profession. And together in classrooms, the kids are just not okay, they're actually thriving. And so are we. Thank you.
I'm Thomas Porter Zuckerman, and this is Yep, I Built a Nuclear Fusion Reactor by Taylor Wilson. So my name is Taylor Wilson, and I'm a nuclear physicist, which may be a little hard to believe, but I am. And I'd like to make the case that nuclear fusion is definitely our energy future, and that kids can really change the world. I built a fusion reactor when I was 14 years old. I decided I wanted to make a star. Now most of you will probably say, well, there's no such thing as nuclear fusion. Well, it doesn't break even. It doesn't produce more energy out than I put in, but it still does some pretty cool stuff. And I assembled this in my garage, and it slams together deuterium, which is hydrogen with an extra neutron in it. So this is similar to the reaction of the proton chain going on inside of the sun. So this previous year, I won the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair. For hundreds of dollars, I developed a system that exceeds the sensitivity of detectors that are hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I've developed a system to produce medical isotopes. Instead of requiring multi-million-dollar facilities, I developed a device that on a very small scale can produce these isotopes. And I went to CERN in Geneva, Switzerland, which is the preeminent particle physics laboratory in the world, and I met President Obama and showed him my homeland security research. So I started out with a dream to make a star in a jar in my garage, and I ended up meeting the president and developing things I think can change the world. And I think other kids can too. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Poe Amaro, and I'll be presenting an original speech. Change
is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. John F. Kennedy said this about the danger of opposing change. Historically, people tend to be afraid of innovation, from terrifying electricity to the insanity of a carriage that wasn't pulled by horses. I believe that we are experiencing that fear of the unknown again today. Artificial intelligence is no different from the inventions of the past that we feared, and we need to learn to overcome that persistent fright. We need to let AI into our lives and open our eyes to the undeniable future of technology. So, in order to understand what we're afraid of, first we need to understand what AI is. We've all written a research paper before, and we know how tiresome it can be to sit through all that information. AI has access to all this data too. All the websites, pictures, the entire internet. And it can comb through that tangle of information in seconds to find what you're looking for. It can meld together images that you describe to it, making the image from your mind's eye come to life. AI has the power to make our lives easier and more productive, if we harness its potential. Now, while it's true that powerful tools can be misused, that doesn't mean that they can't be used correctly. Take the calculator, for example. Once you know how to add and subtract, using a calculator to do it for you isn't bad. It's a tool that is helping you to be more productive. At school, students should learn how to phrase a question so that websites like ChatGPT can guide them instead of just providing them with an answer. Students need to learn to use this tool so they're ready for the future, much like they learned how to use a calculator. AI seems magical now, but imagine your current job, or maybe the job you wish you had. Then imagine what it would be like if it was only the good parts. If you could delegate all of those repetitive tasks, the laborious paperwork, to someone else. It's AI. AI can never get tired or slow down. It will increase our productivity and open up opportunities for us to be creative, to chase our dreams, to live happier lives doing the things we like. All we need is to make this future a reality. Thank you.
My name is Connor Moxon. I will be presenting The Cosmic Sea by Carl Sagan. The cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be. Our contemplations of the cosmos stir us. A tingling in the spine, a catch in the voice, a faint sensation as if falling from a great height. The size and the age of the cosmos are beyond any ordinary human understanding, lost somewhere between immensity and eternity, our tiny planetary home, the Earth. For the first time, we have the power to decide the fate of our planet and ourselves. This is a time of great danger, but our species is young and curious and brave. It shows much promise. In the last few millennia, we've made the most astonishing and unexpected discoveries about the cosmos and our place within it. I believe our future depends powerfully on our understanding of the cosmos, in which we float like a mote of dust in the morning sky. We wish to pursue truth no matter where it may lead. But to pursue truth, we need imagination and skepticism both. We will not be afraid to speculate, but we will be careful to separate speculation from fact. The cosmos is full beyond measure of elegant truths in the exquisite interrelationships of the awesome machinery of nature. The surface of Earth is the shore to this cosmic ocean. And on this shore, we've learned most of what we know. Recently, we've waded out, maybe ankle deep, and the water seems inviting. Some part of us knows this is where we came from, and we wish to return. And we can, because the cosmos is also within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself. The journey for each of us begins here. Come with me. Thank you.
Jay Menzie. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm a teacher, and this is my original speech. A ladder can be a useful tool. It can lift us up to places that we are unable to reach on our own. A good ladder is balanced, strong, and sturdy, providing us with the support that we need. Mr. Williams, my history teacher, wasn't the coolest, or the funniest, or the most energetic teacher in the school, but to me, he was the one that cared the most. As good teachers often do, he recognized that I was a kid that needed him. He invested in my life. He attended my games. He paid for my school lunches out of his own pocket. He pushed me to be better, supporting me through all of my failures and mistakes. He made sure that I learned from each one of them. He was the teacher that I needed in my life at that time. He challenged me because he knew that he could and that he should. Mr. Williams was my ladder. 2 years ago, a thought came to me to reach out to him. I can't tell you where the idea came from. I asked myself, was he still alive? Would he remember me? I had no idea where he was, but I was able to track him down, and I dialed his number. As he picked up the phone, I heard the same compassionate voice. He was 84 years old, but I recognized that voice. The power of his words still resonate with me, and I shared with him what he meant to me, the impact that he had on my life. I had been inspired by him to teach, sharing his compassion and understanding with my students. Through choked tears, I thanked him for the support that he had given me and the investment that he made in my life. About a week after this conversation, his wife called and told me how much that phone call meant to him. It had brought him joy in the last week of his life. I had reached out just before it was too late. So today, I urge you to make that call. Use your words to lift up others. Let them know that you believe in them, you care for them, you love them, you support them. Give them hope. Be their ladder. Thank you.
Hello, I am Clark Root presenting Caring for the Earth, Reasons for Hope by Jane Goodall. Every single one of us makes an impact on this planet every single day. We cannot live through a day without making some kind of impact. And we have a choice. Certainly, everybody in this room has a choice. Some people don't have that much choice in their lives, but we do. And if we start thinking about the consequences of the choices we make each day, the little things, what we buy, what we eat, what we wear, where did they come from? How was it made? Did it result in cruelty towards animals? Was it child slave labor in a faraway place? Did it harm the environment? That kind of thing. Then we start making wiser choices. We can also ask ourselves if we really need it. Is it necessary? Do we have to buy this thing? If you think about everything, it's daunting. And I'm one person. What can I do? There's no point in doing anything because I'm helpless and hopeless. And so people do nothing and they shut it all away and they don't even think about it. They don't want to think about it because that would be depressing. So it's this apathy that has to be overcome. And I found particularly with us young people that when we start realizing that yes, me alone, I can't do anything. But when there's hundreds or thousands or millions or maybe eventually billions of people all making the right choices, all trying to leave a slightly lighter ecological footprint, then we begin moving to the kind of world that we can be happier to leave to our descendants. Thank you very much.
I'm Jacob Malamo, and I'll be presenting an original speech titled Global Warming and Our Future. Today we stand at a critical juncture in the history of our planet. The specter of global warming looms large, casting a shadow over future generations yet to come. Our actions today will shape the world they inherit, and the consequences of inaction are dire. The Earth, our home, is undergoing unprecedented changes. Rising temperatures, extreme weather events, and melting ice caps are not just distant warnings, they are stark realities demanding our attention. The implications for future generations are profound and frankly alarming. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reported, since systematic scientific assessments began in the 70s, the influence of human activity on the warming of the climate system has evolved from theory to established fact. According to the EPA, since 1901, the average surface temperature across the states has risen at an average rate of 0.17 degrees Fahrenheit per decade. Average temperatures have risen more quickly since the late 70s. 9 of the top 10 warmest years on record have occurred since 1998, and 2012 and 2016 were the 2 warmest years on record. Imagine a world where coastal cities vanish beneath rising seas, where once fertile lands turn to arid wastelands, and where biodiversity dwindles, disrupting the delicate balance of our ecosystem. This is the path we tread if we do not address the root causes of global warming. It is our moral obligation to be stewards of this planet, to safeguard it for those who follow in our footsteps. We must embrace sustainable practices, invest in clean energy, and hold accountable those who perpetrate environmental degradation. The time for action is now. We must unite across borders, transcend political divides, and implement policies that prioritize the health of our planet. Let us be remembered as a generation that confronted the challenge of global warming head on, a generation that chose stewardship over indifference and sustainability over short-sighted gains. Together, we can forge a future where the next generation can breathe clean air, enjoy thriving ecosystems, and live in harmony with the planet we call home. Thank you.
I'm Brooke Chambra, and this is a UN Climate Action Summit speech by Greta Thunberg. My message is that we'll be watching you. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here, yet you all come to us young people for hope. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction. For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees Celsius, and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation, sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you, and if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Well, I think it's safe to say that indeed, the kid's all right. Before we close today's performance, we need to thank a few people. First, the National Park Service, for all they do to preserve this wonderful house of performance, art, and history. Secondly, we thank the Ford's Theater Society for their wonderful support of the Ford's Theater National Oratory Fellowship. And lastly, we'd like to thank all those that are participating in the fellowship in one way or another. Whether a teacher, a student, Ford staff, or parent, your work is not unnoticed, and you're all making a difference. Words have been used for years for so many purposes. Some noble, others devious. Words are often spoken without really thinking about what they mean. We take our language for granted. We forget the true power that we hold in our mouths. We must remember that words have meaning. Words have power. Words can change the world. What we say matters, so we should choose our words carefully. Tonight, 22 orators carefully chose the words they spoke for you to deliver messages of hope, anger, a few chuckles, and strength. We hope that you enjoyed the words that were spoken tonight, and hopefully it will inspire you to think about the words that you choose. Thank you. Good night.